This is the Bakos Family channel, and today we're gonna teach you how we roast our own coffee.
We started roasting our own coffee because we like coffee, number one, and because if we roast our own coffee, depending on what kind of bean you want to get, what variety, what national origin, it is cheaper than getting something like Starbucks. I think it's a superior quality because you can control your own taste and liking with different roasts of the same bean. It is more expensive than getting cans of coffee. We found a specific brand that we like to get from Amazon. They come in 5-pound bags. They do a big selection of varieties of coffee. So I'll go ahead and open this box. Here's a new look. Not endorsed. They didn't pay me yet. Hopefully they will. So anyway, this is one of the first coffees we tried. Bali is the national origin. It sounds exotic. The coffee was pretty good. There's a number of ways to roast. We went with the whole whirly pop deal. I tried in the oven, tried using a convection oven. I think it did okay, but it was reaching into the hot oven a number of times and letting the heat out. I thought we lost a little bit of temperature control. I tried in the pan on the stove. I saw some people doing it in cast iron. I don't think I had enough control. Cast iron, I think, holds heat too good. If you wanted to cool it off quicker or something, you had a problem with that. I went with the whirly pop. I like it. It's a thin metal, so it heats up, cools off almost immediately if I adjust the temperature of the stove. Go ahead and open this and we'll get started. You can also buy professional roasting. My dad had an electric coffee roaster. Again, the only reason I dislike that, it probably would roast better than this, have better control, but is the quantity. It's only maybe a pot or two's worth of coffee. This way I can get quite a bit more. And this bag's not cooperating. So here are the green coffee beans, if you can see in there. They're only slightly green, kind of brown. So I probably roast the equivalent of about 1/2 to 3/4 a pound. I know you can do more. I've done quite a bit more. I don't want to go too much because the whirly pop can only stir so much. Another thing I've noticed too, using the whirly pop, when you're just rotating it, the beans kind of just drift around. They probably roll around in there enough, but just being a little picky, I playing around, discovered if you go really fast, it'll kind of push the beans up to the side. And then if you start slowing down again, then they'll come back down. So I feel you get a more even roast that way. So I usually start out gas stove on about 4. I'm not real picky about starting to spin the beans around right from the get-go. Fairly soon I'll start turning the beans. It's been less than a minute. I'm going to start turning the beans. The one thing I try and do is to leave the lid down till I feel like it's necessary to start checking the beans, because again it'll act like an oven and trap in some of that heat, and I think get a more even roast. Towards the end of the roast, it'll go from a medium to a dark to burnt beans within a very short time. Another thing to mention too is that it can get smoky. My daughter hates the smell of roasting coffee. I don't know why, because I find it wonderful. But it can get a little bit smoky. Some people choose to do it outside over whatever sort of gas burner on their grill or propane camp stove. So again, mostly we keep the lid down, but for the sake of things I'll show you here. This is just kind of stirring normal. And again, I think it does stir the beans good enough, but just to be a little anal retentive, I like to go faster. Just like I said, gets the beans to the side, and then I'll slow back down. And I think that spins, flips the beans, and gives different ones a chance to be down towards the heat. I'll go ahead and close this now. Keep spinning. So now that the beans have been roasting for a little while on 4, I'm sure it's getting a little warm in there. I'll go ahead and turn the stove up to about 5. Our stove goes up to 6 and then high. A few minutes into the roast, I like to go up another notch. We'll start to notice a little bit of smoke coming out. That's when I first usually open the whirly pop thing, check on the coffee. So I'm just starting to see that smoke now, and we're going to go ahead and look. And Yeah, most of the beans are still completely green. Some are turning a light brown. I probably should spin this a little more. So at this point, I usually do start spinning a little faster. If you have a hard time holding this still, I found you can use a towel or pot holder and just push down on the center if that matters to you. You open and check again. So they're all a light brown, that's not even a light roast at this point. I don't know if it'll pick it up in the video or not between the whirling, but you could start hearing some of the beans crack. Or pop, almost like popcorn. But if you research, you'll find out there's what's called first crack. And that noise is the coffee bean beginning to expand and crack the shell on the outside. You can hear more and more beans popping now. So when this all kind of settles down from that noise, and again, you wouldn't want to stop spinning at this point. I just am for noise in the video. But just a little beyond that is what's considered a light roast. But also maybe see that it's beginning to smoke a lot more now. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat up a little bit more, which instantly I heard more cracking. So I'm now just below high on my stove. Go ahead and check on the beans again. Okay, so I'm at a light to medium roast now. Actually, because I haven't been stirring quite as much as I normally would, it's almost a mixture of light to medium roast. So to get this back even, if you have this problem, just turn it back down to 4, about medium-high heat, and definitely spin more. And you can kind of catch up the lighter roast beans. I don't want to go too dark on this roast. Okay, so I'm at like a medium to medium dark now. You see how quickly that can go from one type of roast to another. I'm going to go for like another 20 to 30 seconds just to be on the safe side. We're done roasting at this point. Yeah. So we're outside. They said I got the cookie sheets ready. All right, that's all. I'll go ahead and shake them out. So you can see my roast wasn't perfectly even. I got some darker beans. They start to get shiny. There's some light roast in there. That's not a terrible thing. We learned at a coffee plantation in Hawaii that a lot of coffees you buy are a variety of roasts put together, and specifically the Vienna roast is about 50% dark roast to 50% light roast beans. But anyway, we'll leave them to cool for a few minutes. As this coffee cools off, what's called chaff, which is almost resembles peanut skins, will break off. I like to kind of shake it, and you'll see some of that stuff looks like little flakes off to left and right, and then just blow it off. Of course, you can always set up a fan and do this. I'm not really perfect at getting it all off. I don't know that it's affected the flavor of my roast at all. It's definitely not caked up my coffee grinder. We'll come back when the beans are cooled off in about 10 or 15 minutes. And we'll grind some, make some coffee. People say it's best to rest the beans for 12 to 24 hours and then your optimal flavor after that. I don't know if that's true or not. I just know that I enjoy some fresh roasted coffee today. So here's our beans. They're all done. They've cooled off enough. They're still slightly warm to the touch, but they're not hot anymore. They're just above room temperature. So I got this pretty sweet coffee grinder my parents got me a few years ago. It works great. I can do from espresso to French press grind. We also got a kind of a cheap grain mill from Amazon for about 60, 70 bucks. And it actually grinds coffee if we want to do a lot at once. We also have a little hand crank grinder I got recently because it will go down to extra fine for Turkish, almost instant coffee basically. So I grind mine, I set it about in the middle, which would be for your standard drip coffee. Even though we make our coffee almost exclusively in a French press, sometimes we don't. This way the coffee is good for anything. I know there's a recommended French press setting, which is a coarser grind, but you know what? You're supposed to let it sit for 5 to 7 minutes to marinate in the water before you press it. When I'm making coffee at 5:30 in the morning before work, I want my coffee almost instant. So how I make it, like I said, I grind it for about drip. We use water dispenser over there. We don't like city water. It's got the hot is about 175, 180 degrees, so it's not boiling, but it's plenty hot to make our French press of coffee. And I literally give it a stir with the butter knife, and I press it down less than a minute later. And because it's a finer grind, it's almost instantaneous. You get a cup of coffee within a couple minutes. So go ahead and put some of the beans in here. Start, and that's what I store my coffee in, and there it is, Volley Blue Mint. So we're going to make a French press. I'll show you how I do it. If you're familiar with the French press, then you're not learning anything. I use 3 scoops. So we'll go ahead and fill that with hot water. Like I said, I give it a good stir, put on the top. Nearly instant, real coffee.
It's really good.
It's really good?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's good. That's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Enjoy your coffee.
Okay, time for some cream and sugar.